Peace, brothers and sisters. This is James Anyike, uh, coming from Johannesburg, South Africa. And some of you may have read my post about the film Sinners. I saw it 2 days ago. And I'm thankful for those who gave comments about what I shared. And I'm really thankful that nobody disagreed with me. You added things, but nobody disagreed with what I said. And the main thing that I said about the film is that it is a movie about choices. It's a movie about those who are standing at the crossroad and making decisions about their lives. And so everybody in the film, in one way or another, had either chosen a path and they were on that path, good or bad, they were on that path. And then there were others who had to make choices along the way. And so you either see people who are making, who are reflecting on or have are on the path because of the choices they made, or those who need to make a decision, who need to choose a path. And we all do at some point. We've either made decisions or we have to make decisions about what directions we are going to go in. So the key question that I've been asked over these last 2 days is there those who are wondering, should I as a Christian, or should we as Christians go and see the film Sinners? Now, and so I'm going to be pretty much speaking for these minutes to my brothers and sisters in the church. But if you're not in the church, if you're not a Christian, believe me, I think there are things that you'd appreciate that I'll say also. So I don't want you to leave just because I'm targeting those who are struggling with whether or not they should go and see this movie. So you have to make a choice as to whether or not you're going to go see this movie. But the other thing that's interesting about this approach is that I think it will help you in making some other key choices in your life. Right now, we're at an interesting place in time where there's so much confusion in the world, and certainly there are forces that are working against us as Black people. And that's not just in America, that's here in Africa, that's in the Caribbean, that's anywhere in the diaspora, in Europe and everywhere. There are those, we are still at a place where there are those who are trying to keep their foot on our neck. And so we got some choices to make. Some of us just try to, endure. Some of us are quiet, we don't want to lose a job. Some of us don't want to be unpopular. Some of us don't want to appear to be radical. And there are a number of reasons why you may or may not act in this crucial time. And so you have choices to make. And as I listen to some of the conversations about this film, about sinners, I hear some, especially ministers, who are saying, saints, you got to make good choices. You cannot choose this movie because it has some sexual content. Even though there's no nakedness in the film, but it has some sexual content, you shouldn't go see it. Because there's language in it that you shouldn't be listening to. You shouldn't go see it. Because there's so much violence. And it is a very violent film. It has some violence. You shouldn't go see it. And there may be those who even question me as a pastor. Why would you go see a movie like that? Well, my eyes maybe and my ears are not as holy as yours. Or maybe God has given me the ability to do what Jesus did, which is to step into the enemy's territory and maintain my sanctity, maintain my commitment to God, maintain my power as a child of the Most High God, right? Because God has not given us the power of fear, but a sound mind and of power. And so I don't know what your issue is. I don't know what either enables you or restricts you from stepping into places that are considered to be the enemy's territory. You might not like this film, or you might say you shouldn't go see it because they're practicing witchcraft in this movie. They use Yoruba beliefs in this film. And it's not they, it's really only one person, one character, who uses these Yoruba beliefs. And there are a couple of people who are in the film who follow her in some ways, but not really. I think that the film, if you had to measure it, showed more of an incline towards Christianity, towards doing the things of the church, more so than the things of this one woman who practices Orisha beliefs. And as it relates to that, and maybe not just as it relates to Yoruba beliefs, but other religions, I listen to so many people talk about, this thing might contaminate you, this might harm you. And we as Christians often are so scared to interact with some people. You don't want to interact with the Muslim, or you don't want to interact with the Jehovah's Witness, or you don't want to interact with somebody whose beliefs, even a Catholic, or somebody believes that you think are so far from what you believe that you resist or put up restrictions as it relates to interacting with those people. But this is what I say, and if I'm wrong about this, I need somebody to correct me. I have never seen anybody cast out a demon in the name of Muhammad. I've never seen anybody cast out a demon in the name of Buddha or in the name of many religions. And maybe they do it, I just don't know about it. I've never seen anybody or heard of anybody who cast out a demon in the name of Oshun or any of the Orishas of the various Yoruba gods. So, if you know you got the power, and I believe I do, I believe I have power through Christ that I couldn't have in any other way. And I'm not somebody who's speaking as one who has not explored or studied other religions. I am one who's definitely studied other religions. And I'm saying, having studied them, having spent some time, in different settings, I just happen to believe there's a power in me that enables me to do things that most people can't do. And it's not because of me, not because of my holiness or how sacred I am or sanctified I am, but because the God I serve is an able God. The God I serve has more power. So as it relates to this film, no, I had no apprehensions about going to it. I went to it. I had no fears about going to it. I love, believe it or not, my two favorite genres of film are horror and sci-fi, science fiction, especially those that are like out in space. So I'm a big fan of Star Wars and Star Trek, and well, not as much Star Wars as I am Star Trek, but I like these science fiction films, and I really like horror films. The only problem is they don't make too many good horror films and sci-fi films, in my opinion. So most times you won't find me watching a horror film or a sci-fi film. In fact, I'm very intentional about the things that I watch. I don't want to see a lot of violence. I don't want to see a lot of sexuality. I don't want to see a lot of confusion and things that bring your spirit down, or warfare or gory stuff. Even though sometimes you see these things in the movies I go and see, but it's the key. The key is I'm looking for a message. The key is I'm looking for something substantive. I'm looking for something unique. I'm looking for something different as I look at different films. And I can say, just from my little old experience, I've only been on the planet for 62 years, but from my little old experiences, I can say that Sinners is an excellent movie. Excellent acting. I could say that it has a very creative approach to intertwining this thing of horror along with this historical aspect of telling our story as a people, and the mix of beliefs and approaches to life that people take in the film. It's a very rich film, well acted, very well acted, and these are the kinds of things that make me want to go and see a movie. So I enjoyed the movie in that regard. And I said this in my post, and I'll say it here. My problem with the movie is it offers no hope. I really like to see some hope. I like entertainment. I love music. They did excellent things with the music and the dancing and the mixing of the beliefs of the Yoruba people or Yoruba belief system, in terms of the ideal that music can invoke spiritual interactions. And I believe that's true. But yet, again, I've not seen or heard anything more powerful than gospel music. There may be something more powerful. The music in the movie was good, but nothing moves me, and I believe it may be true for many of you, nothing moves me like gospel music does. So I'm not going to give up gospel music and go put emphasis on the blues. I love blues music too. I especially love jazz, and a lot of the new music, new jazz, Esperanza Spalding, and several others. Those are my favorite artists. And so the fear of going to the film because of what you might be exposed to, from what I'm hearing, is what most preachers and pastors and Christians who are saying you shouldn't go see it. This is what they're lifting up. They're lifting up these different beliefs that are offered. They're lifting up the sensuality that's in the film as reasons why you shouldn't go see it. Now, I'll say this now in case I forget to say it later. Don't take your children to this movie. I think that would be a bad thing. I think that unless you are able to take them and then have a long talk with them after them, because you have the knowledge to have a talk about what other religious beliefs are, or what this musical expression means, or what this racial event or events that take place in the film, what they mean. And even the characters themselves, the main characters of the film, Smoke. I'm gonna get the other one. It'll come to me in a minute. But these two characters, what they represent, these are some violent dudes. I mean, and they had a reputation before they left this little town and went to Chicago and worked with Al Capone, and came back after warfare. They had been in the war together and been through all kinds of things. So they came back even after already having a reputation in the town, that they went. Stack and Smoke are the two brothers' names. And again, excellently played by what's the brother's name? Michael B. Jordan. Very, very good acting on his part. But all of these things, if you take your children, all of these things, you would really have to take some time to explain it to them. And I don't believe that you can, depending on how young the child is, explain it to them to a degree that it, informs them. I think if you think your children are mature enough, especially if they're teens or upper teens, yes, and you, again, y'all have those conversations afterwards. But this is a movie about making choices, so I'm trying to encourage you to make the right choices. Now, if you are spiritually thin-skinned, if you have your eyes and your ears are so holy that you feel like they may offend you, and you have to cut your arm off or pluck your eye out because of what you've seen. I'm saying that because there's a scripture in the Bible that says if your eye offends you, pluck it out, right? So if you think that this is something that might lead you to the place where you might need to go wash your eyes out with soap or whatever you might do, then yeah, you probably shouldn't see it. If you're already that scared, that too in itself makes you more susceptible because the enemy uses your fear against you. But if you are able to go and watch this film and not be distracted from the path that God has you on, if you're not tempted to go out and do some things that you shouldn't do, then yeah, go see the film. It's a good movie. It really is a good movie. But you have to have wisdom as to know if there are reasons that God would want you not to see this movie. And again, talking about making choices, I believe Christians should be more intelligent. I think we should be stronger. And I say that because so many of us are, again, we're afraid to talk to somebody who's a Jehovah's Witness. Why? Because you think they'll out-talk you. You're afraid to talk to somebody who is in the Moorish Science Temple because you feel like they know some things you don't know, and they're going to out-talk you about your own scriptures, about your own beliefs. And the same for members of the Nation of Islam. You're afraid to talk to them because you fear that they will out-talk you and you won't be able to defend yourself. Well, that's not on them, that's on you. If they've taken the time to study the Quran and the Bible to the degree that they can raise questions for you that shake your faith, then maybe you need to study, right? Because the Spirit is to lead you into all truth. And it not only means what is the truth, that means a truth that can sustain you, can inform you, can show you and present you as one who is enlightened and ready to represent the word of the Most High God in a powerful and profound way, which is needed, deeply needed in these dark times that we are in. We are afraid of going to see this movie for the same reasons we're afraid to confront political powers and maybe engage in spiritual warfare in the ways we should in times like these. We can't be afraid. We've got to be bolder than we've ever been. So here's the choice. The choice is, will you be a media purist, or will you be a media power? Will you be a media purist, or will you be a media power? Let me tell you what I mean by that. The media purists will not only restrict whether or not they will go see a movie like Sinner, they will restrict what's on their computer. They will restrict what movies they go to see. There are a lot of us as Christians who publicly would not, I'm not going to see that movie Sinner. But the foolishness you watched last night on Netflix was more wicked than anything that's in this movie. So you in secret, you at home, and you watching, this wicked stuff or things that are not healthy to your spiritual life. But then you want to, in public, present yourself as, or pretend to be one who's a media purist. Well, if you're going to be a media purist, be a media purist all the way. Some of that music that we grew up on sounded good, got your feet tapping, had a good old time listening to it and dancing to it. And then when you play it today, you reminisce on the feelings that you had, and maybe even the children that were born when you was listening to this music. Well, be a media purist and stop listening to it. If you can't go one way or the other. You have to go straight. You have to be straight on what you say you are. That means you restrict what you watch on TV. I think that even restricts what you allow your children to watch. Do you realize that if you're afraid of witchcraft, there's more witchcraft in the cartoons that your children are watching right now than the stuff that we ever looked at when we were growing up? When you look at some of these movies and these books that they're reading, there's so much witchcraft and foolishness and sexuality and just all kinds of things that are not healthy for their young bodies and their young minds, and to a good degree not healthy for your body and your mind. So again, now if you're going to say I'm going to be a media purist, then you can't visit some sites, you can't watch some movies, you can't listen to some music or talk even to some people. Some of us grew up listening to Richard Pryor and grew up listening to some of the other, Red Fox and some of the other comedians that had some pretty, let me say, vulgar stuff, vulgar content in their comedy. Well, you can't listen to that no more. If you're going to be a media purist, be a media purist all the way. But if you want to be a media power, see, some of you are not even on, there's some who listen to, watch Netflix very rarely because they've gotten to a place where they just felt like it was weighing on them or harming them in some way or another. And I understand that. And we all know somebody or somebodies who have just turned their social medias off. I understand that. But I'm not a media purist. I'm a media power. And that's not because of my power, but the power of God that's in me, which enables me to watch and hear certain things, which enables me not only that, to be able to defend the truth, to be able to defend the truth as some lies come across my post, not my post battle, but my news feed. And and I don't talk all the time. Anybody who follows me on Facebook, I don't say nothing to nobody too much, but if it's something that's so egregious, a lie or mistruth, then I got to say something, especially if it's a lie against the Most High through Christ that empowers my life. Yeah, I can't let you lie about the Most High. I can't let you lie about the Savior, because I need you to know the truth. And because the truth will make you free, it really will. And so yeah, you need to change. If your fear is that you're a media or rather, if you are a media purist, I think that's fine, but I think it's better to be a media power, one who could stand for the truth on media, one who can look and see what's happening on some people's social media site and realize that this person is in pain and then pray for them. There are a lot of people I have prayed for through the years on social media. Very often I send a little message, a DM, a direct message that says, hey, I'm praying for you. And if you need to talk, here's my number. And you'll be amazed at how many people have responded to that invitation. And God used me to give them some encouragement or some direction just by a few words shared through social media. Media power can do that. A media power can, give direction and correction to the misinformation that even comes from other Christians or religious sources, right? Because there's a lot of confusion there. A media power can help with somebody who's gone through church hurt and bring them to the place where they can have church healing and become the person that God has called them to be. That may be a message that God wants to send through you to somebody else. And just your post of hope might be just what that person needs. It may not even be somebody who knows you, but they needed that word in that moment. And regardless of whatever foolishness is going through their news feed, they saw your post that encouraged them. And so I'm going to cut it off now. But the thing I'm trying to say most is that as it relates to this film, Sinners, again, I think there's far more sinning and things of that nature happening in the world around us. And to try to avoid it, I think is foolishness. To try to act as if it does not exist or to run from it means that you don't have the power that Christ had. Christ had the power to go into places where sinners were. That was one of the key accusations that the scribes and the Pharisees and the Sadducees all made against him. Why is the teacher always around these sinners? Why is he always drinking? They accused him of being a drunk, but of course he was not a drunk. Or why does he eat with them? Or why does he talk with them? Or, all these things they said about him was because they didn't understand that he had power to go sit in those places and not be harmed. In fact, he healed them because he was able to be with them. God is calling you, maybe God is calling you, to be one of those healing forces, right? Because if you are the one who has the light is not meant to be hid under a basket, right? The light is meant to be taken and placed somewhere high where it can bring light to dark places. And there are a whole lot of dark places in the world today. You need to bring your light. You need to let the Most High, Spirit be through you so that the love and the light that God has given to you, you need to give it to somebody else so that they can be better. And will the enemy try to attack you? Absolutely, yes. But remember, you have power over the enemy, not because of who you are, what you've done, no, but because of what Christ has done. You have power over the enemy. Let me say that again. You have power over the enemy. The total evangelium in the third chapter of Genesis, which talks about the serpent will bruise your heel, but the man will crush his head. You are supposed to be a head crusher. I hope you can dig that. You are supposed to be the one who, when the enemy sees you step in the room, he runs out. That's who you're supposed to be. If you say you're in Christ, that's the kind of power you're supposed to have. You're not supposed to be faithless. You're not supposed to be fearful in facing unemployment or sickness, or somebody's making threats against you, or all kinds of things. No, you're supposed to be stronger than that. Yeah, all of us, as in Christ, we're supposed to be stronger than that. And so many of us are fearful and afraid of so many different things. One little old movie called Sinners, I think is something you should be afraid of, unless you really know you can't handle it. And if you can't handle it, then you got a bigger problem than the fact that this movie is out. Your brothers, your sisters, and your family, your children, there are people around who are waiting for you to get you some power and live that power in the world so that when they see you, they know that your God is real. but they don't see any power in you. But they see more power in the sister who's practicing those Yoruba beliefs. Who they gonna believe? You know, right here in Africa, the whole thing about African beliefs is so interesting because even though the majority of Africans are Christians, the majority of Christians in Africa still, the majority of them still practice or adhere to some of their traditional beliefs. And there are spiritual reasons and there are physical reasons why that happens. For example, if they are sick, they may not have the finances to go to the hospital and get the physical help that they need, but they do have, 50 rand or whatever to go down there to the doctor, to that person practicing those old traditional healing processes with various herbs and plants and whatnot, and they may throw in a little word of, words you don't know, because they got to get paid, they got to make it look theatric. But yet, when they feel better, they know that there was some power in that herb, in that concoction that was made. It may not be much more different than what you get at the hospital, but they know how to use it. And it's the same for your spiritual beliefs. If you have not learned how to use your spiritual beliefs so that you can go in and see this movie, or so that you can be there to converse with those who, as they come out of it, and help them see, how God is real, then you don't have that power, then you got a problem bigger than this movie. So, brothers and sisters, the final thing I'm going to say, the question at the beginning of our time together was, should you go to see this movie? I think some of you should and some of you shouldn't. I certainly believe you should not take your children to see it because there's too many things to be answered. I think that we should have more conversations about this film as a Black people and a Black culture, because there's so many rich things that we could have conversations about, from the use of Yoruba belief systems to the ways in which we struggle and overcome racism in the world, how we gain our freedom, because everybody in the film was trying to be free. That's another thing I don't want you to miss when you go see this movie. Everybody was trying to find their way to freedom in some way that was relevant to their lives. And so, we need to have conversations about gaining freedom. We need to have conversations about violence in our community, because there's too many people, too many videos right now on social media of people who done had some road rage, or they're fighting over a man or a woman or whatever it is, and so you see folk duking it out, and you see people getting shot. This film does nothing to dissuade you from violence. So we need to have conversations about that. We need to have conversations about death and grief. There's a lot of that in this film, and a lot of people's questions are not answered about why this person died, or why this person lived, or whatever the case may be, why this person has more power, why this person is weak and powerless. All these things we need to talk about as a culture and as a people. So I think that's another good reason. So you might have a little gathering of your family members or whoever, or maybe even your church, and talk about the things and the themes that come out in this film. But again, I'll say, if you feel like you're spiritually weak, and this film might be too much for you, then use your heart, use your own judgment, but certainly don't point the finger and tell somebody else they shouldn't go. That's just my opinion, pastor, preacher, the ones of you who have been saying all week, don't go see this movie. Well, if the Lord put it on your heart to tell people not to see it, then maybe you're doing the right thing. But in my opinion, I think it does our people better. If we're going to have conversations about it, it does our people better to go in and see it and find those ways that we can engage in conversation and restore ourselves and heal ourselves in ways that we have not been healed, have not been restored, in ways and find the ways that we are not free, and find the ways that we should be free. The emphasis on Black-owned businesses in this film was a refreshing and wonderful thing to see, but again, it was a small part of just kind of a side thing rather than a main focus of the film. Because they're starting the juke joint in the film. It's not about giving our people somewhere to be where we can all just enjoy each other's company. No, it's about how much money we're gonna make. That's what that was about. So again, I thank you for taking the time. I see some of you have made some comments there, and I'm not going to take time to answer those now. I probably should, but I'm not going to do that. I'll try to respond to those questions at another time, or maybe right there in the post. I'll put some responses if you have questions. And thank you so much for sharing your comments and your thoughts. And again, I call this little segment "Right Black at You" because I'm going to be doing this on a regular basis, really talking about those things that matter to us as a Black people, and how we can keep certain conversations going, how we can be stronger, and how we can become the people of power that God has called us to be. You do realize the world is becoming, this is going to sound so racist to some people, but that's all right. The world is becoming a Black planet. The world is more and more becoming Black. And that's why you see so much confusion in America with those racists in the White House and other parts of the government. They are afraid because they know they are not producing children, and they know you are. And so a lot of the attacks that they're making are against you for that reason. A lot of the reasons why they're not going to like this film is because they see Black people who are working through or trying to work through some of their struggles and their issues. And they don't want us working through our struggles and issues. They want us confused and church against want the church against the non-church folk, and the Black nationalists against the W.E.B. Du Bois, not W.E.B. Du Bois, but what's his name? Booker T. Washington, lift yourself up by your bootstraps kind of Black folk. They want us all fighting against each other, and none of us accomplishing anything. And I'm saying this is the time, more so than any other time, that we need to learn to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish, and we need to learn, because we are moving to a place where we are going to be the majority people on the planet, whether you like it or not, whether you say you signed up for it or not. In the next 30 years, Black people are going to be the majority people on the planet. Hear this, which means now you got to make some choices about how you're going to raise your children and prepare them to be leaders on the whole planet, especially on the continent of Africa. Brothers and sisters, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to what's being shared. I encourage you to share with others so that this information, if you find it to be a blessing, can be a blessing to others. Peace and love to you. If you want more information, reach out to me. You can either DM me here, or if you just Google my name, you'll find more than enough information about me, James C. Anyike. If you'd like to read some of my books and get some of the other products that are from my publishing company, go to populartruth.com. Populartruth.com. Peace and love, brothers and sisters. This is Dr. James Anyike coming to you from Johannesburg, South Africa. I pray that you are blessed. There are thoughts that stay. Is there really a way to keep